Hey everyone, this is Rahul with the Alternative Investors Hangout, and today we have a returning guest. He is John Manfreda. He is over at wallstreetformainstreet.com. Thanks for coming on again, John.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's look at the gold and silver market. I know that this is not your forte. I know you're a natural resource guy, but at the same time, this topic needs to be discussed. First of all, you see all this demand in gold and silver, especially with the election of Barack Obama, and you also see huge gun sales. So what's your take on this? Does this clearly show that there's some sort of funky manipulation going on more than before? Because right now silver's still at $31 an ounce, gold's at $16.60 an ounce, and last week it made no sense why the price of gold and silver went down, especially when you had all this funny money printing throughout the whole world. Or potentially you're going to have more money printing going on based on the hints coming from these central banks and all around the world.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I was going to say the prices definitely don't make sense. Normally free market forces would demand a higher price because when I'm not with Wall Street for Main Street, I am part of the bullion industry. And first off, I see a lot more Americans are buying bullion, regardless of what you hear from the media. A lot more. There's a lot of, I've never owned bullion before, and I have no idea what junk silver is. They have no idea about pre-65 coins. They have no idea about Engelhard or Johnson and Matthey. They don't know the difference between major hallmarks and generic silver bars. So there is a lot of new consumers into the bullion industry in America, which is encouraging. And there's a lot, and as a result, you would see the U.S. Mint, they're suspending sales for at least a month. The Royal Canadian Mint has now just suspended sales as well, because demand is astronomical. In fact, there are some people in this industry that are refusing to buy U.S. gold eagles and gold buffaloes because they're worried about the credibility the U.S. will have when things really collapse. They're worried that people won't believe, since it's a U.S. coin, that there's gold in it. And I was like, no, it's trusted. It's very recognizable. It's not. So it's unbelievable just how much bullion, the shortages are being incurred. There's a lot of companies that have trouble filling large orders. And this is just very common now. Very, very, very common. And a lot of shipping is getting delayed. And the reason the prices haven't gone up is because a lot of it is just paper futures. And they trade them very frequently. They issue them out, sort of like the Federal Reserve prints money. And that's what they do. They just flood it, and they flood it through paper silver, I guess ETFs and everything. So, and one of the reasons I would say the prices also haven't gone up is not just the manipulation, but also a lot of the institutional money, the hedge funds, haven't gotten back into it yet. Eventually, but since there's a lack of free market, this will cause shortages. It's already causing shortages at the mints. So the silver market is very, there's a lot of demand, regardless of what you hear on TV. A lot of new entrants, a lot of new people that they can't articulate what's wrong, but they know something's really wrong. And they want to get something that's safe, and they know it's silver or gold or some metal. They know that's going to be around no matter what. They know that the dollar, they at least understand the dollar is just a piece of paper, and that's all it is. And they want something that is going to be around. And that's just my thoughts. It's definitely manipulated. There's no two ways about it. When there's shortages, prices have to go up. But also, I forgot to add, because of these shortages, premiums across the board are going up drastically. A lot of companies are raising premiums for coins. They're 15% over spot now, and that's a free market force. When there's shortages and prices for the metal aren't going up, well, premiums over spot are going up, and some of them are very high premiums, 15% over spot. And the Silver Eagle premiums are astronomical no matter where you go.
Yeah, that is what I've been hearing lately. And on top of it, what do you think is going to happen as Barack Obama continues to act like a hardcore leftist, or he is a hardcore leftist, but once he continues to jam in all these programs, he's going to do something with cap and trade, which we're going to talk about later. He's going to probably do something about immigration, which is going to obviously create rumbles throughout the United States. He's going to pass he's going to actually pass all these sort of rules and regulations which will not make the business community happy. So many people will say, hey, you know what? He's going to take our guns. We're going to buy some gold. This guy is acting out of control. So don't you think the prices of gold and silver or these premiums are just going to balloon out of control if they continue to manipulate the market as they are right now?
Oh, absolutely. They're already going out of control. Some of these junk silver, which isn't known for high premiums, but since it's finite and it's recognizable, and they know when they see that we're on the metallic gold standard, some of these are going $4 to $5 over spot. And if you buy a small order, some of these are even like I saw one small order at a place, and it was $50 half dollars, and it was like $1,500 or $18, or it was wasn't even $1,500. It was close to, it was between $1,500 or $2,000. I remember calculating the over spot, and I was like, this is absurd. But some of these small order premiums, the person who gets screwed the most is a little guy who can only buy 10 Maple Leafs or 10 Eagles or 10 Philharmonics or buy a 10-ounce bar. And that's the unfortunate thing. They're suffering the most. And it's obvious Obama is going to jam things in. Actually, the most interesting thing is a new U.S. base was set up in the Perth of Australia. Do you know what's in the Perth of Australia?
There's a Perth Mint, if you're getting at that. But
yep,
that
absolutely.
program, right?
A new one at the Perth Mint of Australia, where a lot of U.S. residents have gold and silver stored overseas.
That is insane, to tell you the truth. I have to look at that, because I don't really believe that, but you probably are right on that topic. But moving forward, I wanted to get into what Obama is going to most likely do this second term. He was unsuccessful in his first term to try to pass down some sort of cap and trade deal. The conspiracy theorists were talking about how this is going to lead to global governance and a new world order. But now we have the second term, and Obama could do whatever he likes or whatever he wants to do. And it just seems that he's going to pass some sort of cap and trade deal. I brought on Robert Ray-Pierre, who you've interviewed as well, and he doesn't believe that he can pass cap and trade. So don't you think they're going to do something behind the back door, and Obama's going to mention something about how we need some sort of rules and regulations for climate change during his inauguration?
Yeah, I think, will it pass? There's no way you can tell for sure, because there is strong opposition. And the more people find out about it, where it's, collateralizing insurance and then selling it onto the open market so they can drill freely, the carbon swaps that are they're creating, basically they're carbon credits. And basically what this is, part of cap and trade, the carbon credits are, is if you get on a plane and fly, it's tracked how much carbon you have. And in order to offset it, you got to plant a tree, or you got to help fund some windmill or clean energy thing to offset it. And when people realize how bad that is, it's basically they're controlling your breathing air, and you're transporting where you can transport, how you can transport. It's going to have fierce opposition. So they're going to try to ram it through, because it is a massive control. And of course, Wall Street, since the Federal Reserve, they actually control and regulate a lot of these carbon swaps. So it's really they're going to try. They're going to I would say they would try to backdoor it through executive order, but it could happen. If the Democrats, they have momentum. If they win the next election, I think they'll do it.
Yeah, don't say that. That means Princess Pelosi is going to be in charge of the House again, and you know how that happened, or how that worked out.
Yeah, she rammed it through the House, and I think Harry Reid will get it through the Senate. They look what they did with how to get Obamacare. They'll do the same for cap and trade.
So the only way that it could get passed is through reconciliation in the Senate, right? And you're thinking that they could pass it through because Pelosi passed it in the House in 2009, you're saying, right?
Yeah, so I think, they can get it through the Senate and reconciliate it, yeah. I don't think it will die. It's really it will be a disaster. It's just a complete disaster. And it might not happen, it could happen, but what worries me is that the Republicans, I don't think it's going to be hard for them to win because they lost a lot of their bases. And it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't because of it was a bad candidate, but everyone says it's because America's just too dependent on government now. I don't buy into we got too dependent in 2 years. I don't believe we made that big of a leap because in 2010, the Tea Party is what rode the Republicans into election victory in 2010. Well, what happens in those 2 years? Easy. The Republicans raised the debt ceiling. That's what happened. People remembered it, and a big base realized there's very little difference, and they sat out, and they're going to have to elect someone like a Rand Paul or a Amash, someone that won't raise the debt ceiling. And that's a fiscal conservative first before anything if they ever want to win an election again, in my opinion.
Yeah, what I wanted to add is that the Republicans keep on putting these rhino candidates, meaning Republican in name only, and a bunch of guys like us in our 20s and 30s hate the fact that the Republicans are a bunch of big government liberals. You don't see any libertarian-minded candidates, so that's why they're not going to win if they're not going to appeal to guys like us, and then they're obviously losing the Latino vote, so that's not helping them at all as well. But moving forward, I wanted to get into the fact of, but I wanted to get into this topic of this natural resource war. And you're claiming that there is a potential war coming between the United States, China, and maybe another country, and Russia would be the referee. Explain how that would work.
Well, yeah, Russia's going to be the referee of this. That's why Obama said, hey, I got an election, just let me, I'll kiss your butt next term. Because, that's what it is that the megatons megawatts deal is ending. Russia's no longer subsidizing the nuclear industry in the U.S. with breaking down their warheads and sending the fuel over to us. So now, Russia, they control Western Europe. They control Europe because they feed them natural gas. And they basically dictate to Europe what goes on. And so that's what the problem is they dictate to Europe how to do things, because Europe's very dependent on Russia for natural gas. Russia just bought Uranium-1, and they just bought it out. They're going to take it private. That's a lot of uranium in Kazakhstan. And they also Russia now owns uranium in Wyoming. They own U.S. land uranium. And they made a free trade deal with China to send them oil. Russia's the largest oil-producing nation, and they will be probably the largest uranium producer. They own a lot. Uranium-1 has a ton of properties in Africa, in Kazakhstan. They own some in the U.S. and Australia. Putin has cornered the uranium market. U.S. is the world's largest uranium consumer. China is building massive amounts of uranium. Uranium will be their base load. And Japan is dependent on uranium. They made it clear through the election. They are going nuclear, whether they like it or not. And Putin will be the suppliers. And it's going to be a bidding war between China, Japan, and the U.S. And what determines who wins is who kisses Putin's butt the most. This is the environment we are looking at now. It's all hail Putin, which is not fun, and it's not good, and that's why I think fracking is so important, because that's our way out. And the reason a lot of countries invest in uranium is because with nuclear power, the major costs come through the capital intensive building the power plants. It's not buying the uranium. It's not buying the liquid fuels. So unlike, if you drive a car and you put in the gas is your major cost, and oil is big time. With nuclear power, the cost is building it. Once it's there, the cost is low. And that's why a lot of countries are investing in nuclear power. And Saudi Arabia will also be participants. United Arab Emirates, they were smart. They made their deal with Australia. But Saudi Arabia will also be participating in this bidding war, and Putin is positioning himself. He is the ref. He will be the ref.
Yeah, I wanted to get into another topic regarding China. It sort of ties into this topic, but not really. And it's regarding the Chinese. They own a lot of our debt, and it just seems that they're going to be buying a bunch of our assets in the United States, even some natural resource assets. And I know you watched that interview with Alex Jones and Jerome Corsi the other day. You told me before we started this interview. So do you agree with Dr. Corsi's interpretation that since the Chinese are owning a lot of debt, they're going to get a lot of say, and they're going to start buying up a lot of our natural resources and a lot of our companies here in the United States, and thus we're going to lose our sovereignty that way? Do you agree with Dr. Corsi on that?
I would say, I think it's to a point, yeah. I don't think the government would completely give it up, just because I think the people will wake up to that. But, that's a human calculation that you have to make, and no one knows for sure what type of calculation. China did buy Nexen. They're buying up Canada, and they're going to Canada first. And the reason why is Canada is desperate for someone to buy their natural resources. They want to diversify out of the U.S., and China is their only hope. So right now, I see Canada getting bought out before the U.S. I would say the U.S., I don't think they would allow, they've blocked China before, but Nexen was a Canadian company, and Canada allowed it. And I would say they do have some say. They are buying up our farmland, but this will be done incrementally. I don't think it will be done overnight, but I think in the long term he'll probably be right. In the short term he might look bad, because people are like, oh, China's not doing this or that, or and it will just be incremental. They'll get a piece here, a piece there, but Canada, they're gonna get a lot from Canada, I think.
All right, John, before I let you go, how can people find out your work and do business with Wall Street for Main Street?
Oh, they can go to st4mainst.com, wallstreetformainstreet.com. And if you Google my name, I'm on Twitter, John Manfreda. You can follow me there, and that's how you can do it. So I hope you check it out.
All right. Thanks for coming on again, John.
All right. You're welcome.